Welcome to Drivers Talk Radio, hosted by automotive expert and championship-winning race car driver Rick Titus. Join Rick, co-host Jay Dalton, and their team for informative and entertaining discussions geared for automotive enthusiasts and consumers alike. Enjoy in-depth interviews with industry leaders and influencers. Now, originating from its studio headquarters inside Shelby American in Las Vegas, it's time for Drivers Talk Radio and Rick Titus.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rick Titus, and as you've already heard, this is Drivers Talk Radio. In studio with me, which, by the way, coming to you from the Shelby American facility here in Las Vegas, where they actually manufacture Shelby cars of all ilks, and, of course, have their Heritage Center, which we call the museum, monstrous gift shop. Just a great place to be based for a radio program. Just south of Mandalay Bay, just off the Las Vegas Strip. Huge facility. Tours are free, self-guided tours. Videos running of their history, large photos of so much of their history and the great drivers that drove for them. Just a great opportunity. Of course, Jay Dalton, producer and co-host of the program, is right next to me here. If you're watching us on your computer, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just great, and I am smiling because you can't leave here knowing anything but the whole story of Shelby, from the very first Cobra all the way to what is happening right now. And in the background, you'll likely hear either construction of Mustangs and Raptors, or you might just hear a dyno run every once in a while.
That's right. Well, and they light off the continuation Daytona Cobras and the Daytona Coupes as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot going on here, and you're more than welcome to pop on by every day but Sunday. Just a great place. Spencer Crick over there being very quiet for the moment. I guess because it's been a slow football week. Huh?
Oh, man, it's a drought now. I got to make it.
I don't know how you're doing it.
I'm crawling on the Sahara.
When do we actually see a game there, Spence?
Not till August, I want to say, is when preseason starts. So, yeah, crawling through that Sahara Desert.
I'm sorry, I'm still grinning because I think of all these kids that were just drafted, and their first day at camp is going to be enlightening.
Oh, it's glorious. A lot of it is, from football shape to seeing these guys work. They've got to process so much.
Yep. And a lot to know, a lot to learn. Jay, I've been watching the news a lot lately, and of course, when we get through the rhetoric and the garbage that is the upcoming election that we're going to have to bear until November, I was reminded of something, and I just want to see how your memory works, bud. There's been a lot of unexpected snowstorms in different locations, Michigan, and of course up in the New England area. I'm going to take you back to Michigan, 1969, talking about snowstorms. Does it remind you of anything?
You're going to have to refresh my memory a little more than that. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Brooklyn Hills Trans Am race. You and I stood in late May. There we were for the beginning of the Trans Am season in 1969. The race started in snowstorm.
Yes.
We couldn't believe. We looked at each other, being from Southern California. We were a couple of gophers on my father's Trans Am team back then, running the Firebird Trans Ams.
Mostly getting tires mounted and gas cans filled. And
if it was
the
filthy,
normal things.
If it was filthy, we were doing it. But being from Southern California, we looked at each other like, seriously? It's snowing here in late May? And it wasn't kind of snowing. It was serious about it. And enough so they started the race on rain tires, if you may recall, as you may recall.
I can remember also going to a race in Dallas one time, and it rained so much it filled the infield full of water, and they couldn't run the race. I'm not sure you were around. You might have been in the military.
We were both in the military. You just happened to be on leave. I will remind you, one of the reasons they didn't hold the race is it filled it so much that cottonmouth snakes were invading the corner workers, and some seem reluctant to actually be working that day.
Another thing that happened was
they called the race.
They called the race. They postponed the race because if you went off track, you'd end up in the water,
right? And
then there was no way to get you out of the water. You could drown.
Yeah. If
you spun off track, which was really a strange situation for Texas, and it's like the last thing you would have expected. But anyway,
man, I want to remind you, if you were one of the slower cars and you got Jerry Titus of course, Mark. You got George Fulmer, Parnley Jones, guys somewhat renowned for moving people.
Off.
Yeah. This would not have been ideal. It was a good day to call it. No, I know my father was not pleased because it was expensive to go to a race that didn't get run.
Yes, exactly right.
Anyway,
sure is.
Okay, news items. Let's talk.
News items. One of the more interesting news items. This show's today going to be about some of the new trucks that are coming online here in the American market. But I've got
perhaps even the definition thereof.
Perhaps the redefinition of a pickup truck in America. Yep. But one truck that's been around since 2007 is the second generation Tundra, and one of the owners has put 1 million miles on a 2007 Toyota Tundra. Now, this made all the PR statements. This started popping up just a few days ago.
Wow.
An owner by the name of Victor Shepard out of Houma, Louisiana. Apparently, he runs oil field equipment all around the United States.
Apparently.
Got himself a 2007 Toyota Tundra, drove it on average about 400 miles a day for his work, running back and forth between Louisiana and North Dakota, Wyoming and Virginia, back and forth over the last 9 years, 1 million miles. And the reason this made the PR reports was that Toyota gave him a brand new Tundra so they could take apart this 2007. Now, they're going to benchmark this vehicle that has 1 million real miles on it, but I just want to say to Victor, based on our intimate knowledge of the Toyota Tundra, not to say anything disparaging against Toyota, Victor, get away from that truck.
Yeah.
After 1 million miles, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Again, not to say anything disparaging, but we have intimate knowledge of that truck, and there's areas that, let's just say, were uncompetitive when it was new.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm shocked. Obviously, he...
could you think this would go 1 million miles?
No, but it's interesting. First of all, very smart of Toyota to get it back.
And make a publicity stunt out of it.
Why wouldn't you leverage
Handed him a brand new 2016 Tundra.
When you're considered
good for Victor.
When you're considered one of the newer players to the truck market,
yes,
right there with the Titan, obviously, from Nissan. But to prove that you got one that'll do 1 million, that's not bad, Jack.
I'll tell you what. This guy serviced this truck 117 times. It was serviced by the dealership.
Yeah.
That meant he was going in about once a month for service.
Yeah, smart.
And by the way, he went through some timing belts. Timing belts. Well, that was the first thing that caught my ear because in a couple of years out, they changed that engine over to a timing chain. So he wouldn't have had to change those out.
I'd like to know how many times he had to deal with the conversation. So you're putting a few miles on your Tundra. Are you going to consider getting another one from us?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that started at about mile 90,000 and probably didn't stop.
Because you're getting those phone calls, are you, Spencer? Enough's enough with the emails.
Yeah.
So you're telling me maybe after the first 90 days, he's like, are you thinking about?
Yeah. Is it time for...
He was getting pitched already. Yeah. Okay, is it time to... No, it's not. But I hope Victor enjoys his new truck. He has earned it.
Oh, very definitely. And I think, I hate to see Toyota take it too far apart because I think a truck like that should be on tour for them. I mean, that's good PR. Spencer, man?
Well, now he's got the ultimate comeback line. Hey, you thinking about trading up for a new Tundra? Well, my last one did about 1 million, and I'm at 90,000. I think I've got a few more miles to go on this
don't call me back for 4 years.
He's got the answer to the sales pitch.
Yeah, very good stuff. Ford GT, Ford very serious about trying to win Le Mans again. So they built a very, very special Ford GT for that, and they've been through Ganassi Racing and whatnot, been racing those cars, learning from those what might break. They've had some clutch and transmission problems. They haven't had any engine trouble. They haven't had any chassis trouble. Well, they got chassis trouble now because, as is the game with racing sometimes, they did crash one pretty hard recently at the 6 hours of Spa. in Europe, and it did some significant damage, but the driver did walk away with a bruised left leg, I believe. But other than that, walked away from a crash that, quite frankly, looked like it really devastated most of the existence of the vehicle.
Very heavy crash.
It was
very heavy.
Yeah, well.
I want to remind you, back in the day,
and they'll learn from that. They'll learn.
Back in the 60s, they had so many of these Ford GTs, and they used to crash them all the time. Yep. I mean,
but I want you to think what was going on back then. Here's a car that now gets deeply into the need for aerodynamic assistance, and frankly, that was all pretty new information.
Yes.
Back then. So they were pushing the envelope darn hard. They certainly come into this Ford GT, and the car won. They got results. They made it happen, but they did fold a few. And frankly, to run as much as they've run already, 3-car teams in several series, getting ready to go to Le Mans. They've already won a race leading up to it. To only crash one, not bad.
Should be fun. We're going to watch that. We're going to watch that unfold. Le Mans weekend is, I think, January 20th. If I've got that correct. I think it's the 20th.
Not January 20th. It might be June 20th.
Sorry, June 17th. June 17th is 17th, 18th, 19th will be Le Mans this year. We're going to try to follow it as closely as possible. And we also promise we're going to spin the cameras around here, Rick, and we're going to talk about a couple of the Ford GTs that are right in front of us at the Shelby American Heritage Center. But before we go to break, just for a moment, we want to acknowledge our friends at autoworks.tv. If you're interested in a full-time automotive channel that you can get on your computer system, we happen to be one of the programs that are aired every week on autoworks.tv. That's auto, WERKZ.tv. When you go to that website, just go to the bottom, subscribe at the bottom of the page, and then enter. It's endless television.
Don't forget, you can pull that on your phone if you're stuck at the airport or you need to kill a little bit of time.
Correct.
Get in some automotive programming. Come on.
Correct. You can
now you tell me that? I was stuck in Dallas for a 3-hour layover, and now you tell me I could have got that on my phone? Very helpful. Hey, with that said, AM/FM listeners, we appreciate you being with us as well. And we're going to go to break right now so the local stations can sell a little bit of stuff. Please join us right after the break. And thanks for rejoining us. We appreciate that very much. A lot of news to share with you. A ton of things going on. Of course, Jay, I know you've got something on the tip of your tongue, so we'll go there first.
Buick has a problem.
Buick has a problem. Dang it, I want one of these divisions from General Motors to be healthy.
This is a good problem, Ricky.
Okay. Oh, good.
This is a problem. The first rumor is that the Verano, this is their smallest compact sedan that they are producing right now, that the Verano very likely is to be dropped because they're now watching as the volume falls beneath 32,000 a year.
Yeah, that's tough to justify.
Now, suddenly, Buick has the problem of finding itself in the truck business. By truck, let's do air quotes, truck, air quotes, their Encore and Enclave, soon to be joined by Envision, their small one coming over from China very, very soon. But their Encore and Enclave are outselling everything else that they produce.
Now, these are SUVs. These are not pickup trucks.
These are called CUVs. CUVs. Yeah, 66 to 70% of Buick sales are now CUVs, not sedans.
And now you know why everybody, and I mean everybody, wants in that market. And they don't want to be with just one vehicle. They want to be in with a number of selections.
Small, medium, and large.
Yeah, exactly.
And suddenly the Verano will be paying the price. And by the way, if you've ever seen a Verano is a very attractive little car.
It is.
There's nothing wrong with a Verano.
Actually, Buick's lineup is pretty attractive right now.
Then we get the Regal, which is a little overdue, the LaCrosse, the Cascada convertible, which is their very first convertible in a long, long time. But what the problem that this poses for Buick is, I want you to think back to the last 2 show cars that they have produced.
Yeah.
Something called the Avenir, which got just acclaim from everyone, a sedan, and the Avista. The Avista was the showstopper, in my opinion, the last Detroit Auto Show.
It was.
And both are sedans, both of them. Now, from the very sheer volume of what they could produce, they're going in the wrong direction.
Well, not to mention with both have basically been called bluffs anyway.
Two doors.
Yeah.
That two-door coupe style vehicles. Most of the time, it takes four-door to win in the category.
Yeah.
To get some really big sales volume.
Well, enough to justify building anyway.
Yeah.
So, as good looking as they were, it just, my motto is, if it's really good looking, it ain't going to happen. And that's going to prove to be the case with these concepts as well.
As part of the story, though, they got a few more quotes from other people. And they got a quote from a brand chief by the name of Jeff Conrad at Honda.
Yeah.
And he said, about this truck thing, we don't want to miss out on that. So we reintroduced the Ridgeline pickup that we had for a while back. We don't want to miss out on this truck thing. And, of course, the Ridgeline is what we're going to talk about in our third and fourth segments of this program.
Yep, and there's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Jay, very exciting. One of those deals that you got to be kidding me. Why did this take this stinking long? Mustang has already celebrated its 50th anniversary of existence. And guess what? It just now appears that there is going to be, in fact, a Mustang National Museum. This took, and it wasn't even Ford's doing. Ford wasted a lot of money with a bunch of dignitaries flying all over the country, enjoying great dinners and parties, allegedly selecting a site for a museum. Well, that went down the tubes in no time, and that disappeared off the radar screen. It seems ridiculous to me that a car of this much of a halo, or certainly an image car for Ford Motor Company, with the largest magazine following, the largest fan following, and production car now sold internationally, that Ford never stepped up and built a museum for it. So a couple of individuals by the name of Steve Hall and Ron Bramlett. Bramlett has been on this show before. Diehard Mustang guys. Bramlett, the owner of Mustangs Plus, an accessory and aftermarket parts company out of Sacramento area, Stockton area in California. Have stepped up and actually got a city to commit to supporting it. And it looks like it's going to be Concord, North Carolina, is going to be the home of the new National Mustang Museum. And knowing, at least Bramlett, this is real, you can go to www.thenationalmustangmuseum.com, and apparently someone's finally going to get one of these things built.
We have been saying this. Every season we've been on the air, 17 seasons, we've been saying, where is the National Mustang Museum? If they can do it for Corvette, they can do it for Mustang.
Oh, Ford ought to be hanging their head on this. This is ridiculous.
There should be a museum adjacent to Flat Rock, and you know that.
That's where I thought it should go.
Flat Rock, Michigan, where it used to be the old Mazda plant.
But Jay, here's how ridiculous this is. Here's a car that's a national icon, has been now for 50 years. You can't even get a tour of the Flat Rock Museum. They won't even have a tour. Chevrolet allows you to actually option build your engine for your Corvette, allows you to be the first person to start your Corvette at the end of the assembly line. Oh, and then you could take delivery of it the next day in their museum. Hello, and Ford. You
missed one on the Corvette.
Oh.
The Corvette, you can pay an extra amount of money and make sure you get the serial number you want.
Oh,
the
that's
VIN
right.
number that you want.
The VIN number.
Choose your own VIN if you're lucky number 7 across the board.
Don't they even let you go out on a track?
Yes, they've got their own track now. Good point, Spencer.
Yes, adjusent to the
They just finished
National
building that
Corvette Museum.
Unbelievable.
In Bowling Green, Kentucky. Yeah. This somebody's kind of dropping the ball on this.
This is pathetic. It's just pathetic. And they've been begged for those kind of options for a Mustang. They've been begged to have a museum, and of course, too busy counting money. I don't know. Makes me sick. Anyway.
I've got sticking with a truck theme for this show.
Okay, and then I'll come back to a museum thing.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Just a little something that I noted right now. April sales numbers. Oh my gosh. April sales numbers. 59.3% of all vehicles sold in America were either pickup trucks, CUVs, vans, or SUVs. 60%. 6 out of 10 vehicles are truck in nature. F-Series being number 1, Silverado, Ram, GMC. Tacoma is 5th in that list. Colorado, 6th. Tundra, 7th. Frontier, 8th. Canyon, 9th. Ready? What's number 10, Rick? selling 1,000 trucks, 1,010 trucks in the month of April.
I have no idea.
Titan.
Titan.
Titan with a diesel engine. Talk about a little bit slow off the mark. Titan with a diesel engine, only offered with a diesel engine.
Only, wait a second, really? Only? I did not.
Right now.
Wow, I did not know
now,
that. I had not paid attention. Titan's not been on the radar screen. It's a shame. It's not a bad truck.
It's still not on.
It had a pretty good V8 engine. Would have made it competitive. It just never, ever got there. But this diesel in pickup thing is going to gain momentum, my friend.
You think so?
Not a doubt in my mind.
You think so?
Not a doubt in my
This is a
mind.
brand new Cummins engine. It's a 5-liter diesel that's found in the Nissan.
I would look for
Titan.
some V6 diesels to start showing up as well. I think the game's going to be interesting. On the topic of museums, since Jay is a diehard Ferrari fan, Ferrari opens this museum to everyone, ... online.
Online.
Yeah, you can. Have you actually been to that museum?
No, I have not.
You know, that
been
kind of
to any
surprises
Ferrari
me.
museums.
Yeah, that surprises me.
I'm not inclined that way.
Not
to be
inclined that
honest.
way, Mr. Spencer.
Maybe they'll even let us put on our virtual reality goggles and kind of almost live the
And see,
dream
you're saying
there.
that in a smart alecky way, but you are one of the people that's convincing me that guess what? This virtual reality thing is getting real in this goggle deal.
Yeah, I'm half kidding. The
Yeah.
virtual reality is already here.
Yes,
in a
and that
sense.
market's going to grow fast.
Oh, yeah.
Can I talk about virtual reality just for a second? I've recently seen where you can now ride a roller coaster, strap on virtual VR goggles,
Oh, yeah.
and pretend that I guess you're flying in a jet fighter because you're going on this roller coaster. Can you imagine not being sick?
No, that's what's the beauty of it.
Wearing this-
You get to throw up in your own living room now.
I don't understand.
You don't have
it.
to throw up in front of strangers. You don't have to pay money at an amusement park. You can get sick on your couch.
As if a roller coaster isn't exciting enough.
Enough.
Now we've got to do something with a VR set of goggles. Like, where are we that far behind, Rick?
Apparently we are, Mr. Crick.
Vomit bucket sold separately.
Yeah, of course, and that's our market. Jay and I want to bring it so it straps right onto your visors, so it's neat and handy with its own
May
little
I-
towel.
May I continue with that theme? Thank you for bringing up
You're welcome.
air sickness. But I was recently, 2 weeks ago, I had lunch with our previous engineer, Micah Musio,
Yeah.
who told me he was up flying a helicopter the other day and somebody's wife leaned over and asked him about 2 minutes away from the airport, do you carry a bag in the helicopter? His answer was no, and they spent the rest of the afternoon cleaning up. I can't imagine anything more
I used
embarrassing than that.
to commandeer those bags on commercial flights to put in my private plane, just so I'd always have them. So Micah needs to start grabbing some of those bags.
Exactly.
Air sickness
those bags. Do they still have air sickness bags?
Yeah, they do.
on-
I just
on
was just
commercial
joking about the other
airliners?
day.
That seems to be a one lesson learned and you're done with it kind of deal, I bet.
Yes. The bag will be on board from now on.
That's
Absolutely.
funny. That's so funny. You know, Audi announces that its autonomous cars are learning to be considerate, which is pretty funny considering the middle finger that Volkswagen is giving all of America right now, that any German company who has been caught in this cheating scandal would be worried about autonomous cars that are considerate, but okay.
Opel's just been caught in Europe.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And the list grows.
Yes, and it grows.
And the list grows. On that one, from a business standpoint, please help me understand why Nissan wanted to acquire controlling shares in Mitsubishi. Any
It's
thoughts?
called "Be Careful What You Wish For." And what they wished for was that Mitsubishi would build them small cars so they didn't have to. You see, once again,
Yep.
Carlos Ghosn stepping away from small car production, thinking to himself, I'll just let somebody else do that, much like the Sergio Marchionne
Yes.
approach, wanting to kill cars at Fiat Chrysler. He's taking a lesson from Carlos Ghosn, and be careful what you wish for. They built them. They stated the wrong mileage on them for years and years and years, and now they're paying the price. So
But
be careful.
The cars in which they fibbed on the mileage, by the way, were not sent to U.S. shores, just so you know.
No, they were all Japan.
AM/FM listeners, we're going to go to break right now. Please join us right after the commercial break. And welcome back to Drivers Talk. Rick Titus, Jay Dalton, and Spencer Crick. And we really do appreciate you joining us on all the different ways. Spencer, you want to run down that list of ways you can actually find, watch, listen to, or catch this show?
Well, you can catch us on Facebook. We've got a page there, Drivers Talk Radio, at Drivers Talk Rick. That's your Twitter handle. You can catch us always on YouTube. Please subscribe to us. That way you'll get all the information of our newest shows as they come up pretty much right when they happen.
Yep. And now we got AutoWorks TV that we've now been, and we're very, very excited about this because this is a big bump in following. This is a serious auto show network. It's automobiles 24/7. A lot of shows that you'll remember or recognize when Speed Channel just dumped all over the American car enthusiast and abandoned. And of course, they're doing a lot of fresh content stuff, some of which we're involved in.
That's autoworks.tv. And by the way, you missed two things. iTunes, of course.
I was just about to wrap it up.
And Stitcher's. Go ahead. Did I miss anyone?
No, iTunes and Stitcher. That's what I was about to bring up.
Okay.
Don't forget us on the podcast world there.
Yes, absolutely. I think you'd enjoy our podcast very much. I know I do. And yes, I listen to the shows once they come out to make sure Spencer's doing his job. And
and he can correct me in an email. At the beginning of this program, we teased the notion that there may be a new definition for pickup trucks. Trust me, when we talk about, by classification, trucks being 60% of the market right now, and in large part you can blame the current fuel costs for some of that percentage. I think
in other words, low fuel costs.
Low fuel costs have driven people back to the vehicles they actually want.
Mm-hmm.
But to that end, there will in fact be a redefinition, I think, Jay, of trucks and what truck content is going down the road and what it's going to mean in the marketplace.
Well, for this broadcast, we are truck specialists. And there is no other way to put it because Rick has made his living. I have made my living analyzing the truck market from the very intimate knowledge of taking them all apart, benchmarking the trucks in competitions.
To the point that they are considered destroyed. They cannot be reassembled.
Cut apart.
After we test them and take them apart, they're rubble.
Testing them, validating them, doing certified proving ground work with these trucks. And so we know trucks. This has been our living for at least a decade,
yes.
Solid.
Yep.
And so it's interesting when you step back for just a second and a new truck is introduced. And by new, I mean different from the Generation 1.
Right.
We're speaking, of course, about the Honda Ridgeline.
Honda Ridgeline is going to be coming out a little later, about midsummer is what they're talking about right now. And it really was an adjustment because to be around the Honda folks, and they're using the term truck as a traditional truck enthusiast and someone who knew trucks in the traditional sense, the notion that they would change so dramatically, and frankly, I think Honda may have its finger on the pulse of where it's got to go, because these new CAFE standards that are coming in just 9 years, in 2025, wherein the CAFE averages, the fuel economy averages for the fleets of each manufacturer are going to be required to be at 54.4 miles per gallon. Someone's going to have to think, when you look at the volume of trucks being sold by these manufacturers, we got to make even more mileage. It was radical. I mean, it caused shockwaves in the truck industry, Jay, when Ford said it was going to go to an aluminum body. Of course, there were a couple of truck companies that got on their high haunches, and because they weren't first to do it, badmouthed the idea. Who are they kidding? This can't be done. Both of whom will now be prepared to come with aluminum trucks in the very near future because they realize, wow, not a bad idea. Smart thinking.
Well, let's explore just what you've said here.
Okay.
You know, this was tried not in the truck arena, but in the SUV arena. And we have watched Explorer. We've watched Jeep Cherokee. We've watched a number of big SUVs that used to be cab on frame.
Right.
Remember, SUV used to be a pickup truck that had a big body on it.
Right.
That could accommodate
that closed in the bed.
that closed in the bed and could accommodate 2 rows of people and could go off road, and it was rough and tough and so forth. Well, now let's look at the Explorer is a unibody vehicle.
Yep.
Let's look at the Jeep Cherokee and Grand Cherokee unibody vehicles. Yep. Can they go on the Rubicon Trail? They claim they can. I'm sure they can if they claim it. But they are different than when they started out.
Yes.
Now, the question is, in this modern world of manufacturing, can they make something stiff enough, strong enough to be considered a truck or go down the Rubicon Trail or provide that SUV quality in a unibody construction?
Well, that I think has been fairly well proven. I think you have watched so many of the manufacturers convert from body on frame in the SUV market to a monocoque, or what is known in this country as a unibody construction vehicle. The body is the frame, and there's ways to put those substructures in there, frankly, to do the job quite nicely. And I think we've all become indoctrinated now, or at least used to the notion that in SUVs, this is acceptable. Not in the largest yet. They're still figuring out, because they really are more traditional truck-like than we're used to. But I've been asking for some time and got some pretty interesting stares. Could the day come with the mandates for fuel economy that we would see trucks go to a unibody or monocoque structure? And it was not well received some time back. In fact, I was considered quite the moron for even asking.
I wasn't going to bring that up unless you talked
about it. No, let's do it.
No. Because these are kind of private conversations that we have deep in these companies. Hey, when you make an F-150, when you make a Silverado, when you make a Ram, you are making it to hit those style and durability criteria that your customer demands. And these are the biggest selling vehicles
these are the players.
in the country.
Yeah.
There's nothing bigger than selling 700,000 F-Series pickup trucks. You don't mess with that. You don't put a plastic bumper on that truck.
No.
You don't mess with it at all. You really try to move that ball forward instead of compromising the package. Well, you used to ask those questions. When are we going to go to frameless?
They just seem inevitable.
And they just said, no, do not even bring up the topic. It cannot. We will not do it.
It was highly resistant, yes.
Okay, so here we are. We're backing our way into Ridgeline here because we're justifying how a car company who is known, Honda is known for doing their own thing, going their own way, making their own path through this world. Okay, here we go. How'd they do it, Rick? How'd they get the strength in this new Ridgeline? I don't care about the horsepower numbers. Anybody can read that junk. Tell us how they got the strength in this truck.
The setup line here was that we used to ask that question to major truck manufacturers 10 years ago, and they thought we were Looney Tunes. We've been asking that question repeatedly ever since then, and recently the tone of the answer and the spin of response has changed dramatically, i.e., there's hints alluding to the fact, you know what? Those frames may have to go if we're going to get the kind of mileage we need. Though no one has officially made that statement, you can look between the eyes of these cats and see that, you know what? Likely. So here comes along Honda with a Ridgeline truck that, frankly, truck people never took seriously. I've liked it from the beginning for the appropriate buyer. I felt people with condominiums or apartment living didn't have a lot of space, small homes, but still wanted the ability to have some flexibility in how they use the vehicle. Ridgeline fit a gap that maybe didn't even exist at the moment.
Can I remind our audience, Ridgeline was produced from 06 to 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And they sold over 250,000 of these vehicles in America. So it did fill a need for a quarter of a million people that no one else recognized before.
No one knew was there, yes.
So, okay, now a quarter of a million over 10-year period for any of the other big players is nothing.
Nothing.
Is nothing. But they've identified a different kind of buyer, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, when you're around the Honda people, their sensitivity to and their concern about these CAFE numbers is very, very real. I mean, there's urgency to it. They understand. Honda gets it. We got to drive there and drive hard. I'm not saying the others aren't paying close attention, but when you get to the truck side of things, tread thin. You know, the ice is thin. Tread lightly. Honda says, the heck with that. Let's build a vehicle knowing that that's where we got to get. And it's going to be classified as a truck. We understand that. How can we do it as a unit body piece and bring the kind of strength, durability, and meet the expectation of a light truck buyer? And to that end, I went to these meetings very, very concerned of, are you sure you can do this? A, should you even be using the term truck? And more importantly, can you deliver that kind of structure? Now, one of the potential strength concerns we had is if you look at the rear window of a pickup truck, the cab has always been traditionally separated from the box till Tundra. Tundra changed the game there and gave the appearance that the box was separate.
Tundra. Are you sure about that?
The cut line made it look like it was a separate box, or maybe I'm speaking Ridgeline and I'm confusing my bodies.
You have said Tundra and meant Ridgeline.
Meant Ridgeline.
Ridgeline has stamped their rear body work in the Generation 1 for 10 years.
Yep.
They stamped their body work like you would a station wagon.
Yeah.
In other words, there is no part line between the bed of the vehicle and the cabin of the vehicle. It's all one big long body part.
But truck buyer expectation was there needs to be a cut line there.
There needs to be a cut line, a gap there. So, Ricky, we're going to need to go to break. But when we come back, please explain to us how they got that bed separated from the cab in a unibody.
You got it. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Drivers Talk Radio. All right, listen, we know we have opened Pandora's box. The topic of pickup trucks is taken almost sacredly at the car manufacturers that produce them. Frankly, amongst the audience that buys them, and we're players, we get it, we're there too. But the definition of that pickup truck is going to change, and it's going to change, I'm going to say rapidly. I don't want to oversell that term, but you know what? The game is changing. Ford going aluminum already proved it. The fact that there are some small diesel engines about to come to market. Ford just introduced a 2-liter diesel engine. The things are changing. These new CAFE laws, these laws requiring 54.4 miles per gallon by 2025 rather. These are game changers. And when these are your high volume vehicles, when these are the vehicles you sell the most of, manufacturers now have, goosebumps. There's fear amongst the game. So here comes Honda, who actually introduced this pickup truck a while back, stopping production in 2014, is now back in the game because they realize even they need to have a truck that will play at these kind of CAFE numbers. To do that,
we're speaking about the brand new Honda Ridgeline that Rick has had extensive
I've had the good fortune to go into a lot of behind-the-scenes training on this vehicle. It was the same time the rest of the automotive media world was being introduced to it. And our big concern in going with the unibody structure is, A, what would its durability be like in a truck life? Would it be able to tow? And so far the numbers are relatively light for the class, but numbers that may come to mean a lot to people, i.e. 3,500 pounds, but that's on a V6 engine, normally aspirated. And, of course, the fact that it's not going to be a monstrous off-road truck, but a truck that's used on a daily basis. So a lot of car-like characteristics. Gee, a lot of trucks have driven in that way already. But how could they, and our big concern was when you take the pickup bed and make it part of the body, what we call a stress riser, where the back window meets the bed of the truck. That right there had stress riser written all over to us. We were very concerned. How do you not break the vehicle in the middle when you load that bed, tow anything, or expect any durability?
Okay, you've looked deeply into this truck.
Yes.
What's the trick? It's unibody, obviously, through the cab area.
Yep.
What do they do?
Okay, well, the first outside thing that you're going to notice is the way the A-pillar, or excuse me, in this case, the C-pillar actually meets the bed. It's what happens under the skin at that location. Genius, the way they've tied this in. That is one big, huge bulkhead back there from the window down. It actually ties in all the way to the roof structure. And the way they have tabbed that to tie the bed into it, stunning.
Okay, so the bed is a unibody structure.
Tied to the body. It's
and
all
the
one
body
punch.
work is okay.
The side is actually one big punch now.
All right.
That's a stamping. And then inside, internally, they've brought that bulkhead on around the corner. Exactly. I knew you would. They came around the corner on the inside to complete that connection.
Okay. So the fact of the matter is you couldn't just unbolt the bed and lift the bed off.
She's not leaving.
It's a little bit of an illusion, isn't it?
You know what? It's El Camino Ranchero, buddy.
Wow. With a part line.
Right.
With a part line. Well, okay. So once that you get established that this is a real pickup truck, and by the way, I'm sorry to correct you. I'm going to embellish a number that you gave out there.
Okay.
3,500 pounds of tow is for the two-wheel drive version.
Okay.
The all-wheel drive version goes to 5,000 pounds of tow. Apparently, a trailer hitch is standard equipment on this vehicle also.
It is.
Comes with this, because the first thing you know, when you go into the real metrics of pickup trucks in America, everybody tows with a pickup truck. You get up to the Super Duty models and so forth, 70% of the people tow something with a Super Duty, as you do.
Yes.
But nevertheless, you're going to end up towing sooner or later, or you're going to use it for a bike rack on the back. You got to have a trailer hitch, and a trailer hitch and the stance of the truck and the way the truck presents itself with that vertical rear glass lends itself to saying, I'm a real truck.
Right.
I'm not a fake truck. I am a real truck that can do real work.
Yep.
This was really important because, for instance, the first question that I had, the first thing I went looking for through all the data sheets was, if you're going to tow something with this truck, does it have trailer sway mitigation on it? And yes, it does.
Yes,
Trailer
it does.
stability assist.
Yep.
I thought, well, okay, somebody was thinking here.
Oh, and this bed and the packaging that they've done here. Case in point, when you have a truck of this nature and a bed this deep, that has a built in the bed flat unit storage system where i.e. you can actually put an ice chest under the bed from the top, from the bed itself, or it can be its own cooler. You want to fill it full of ice, close the lid, lock it up, whatever you want to do. Spencer?
Talk about a tailgating car or a truck. That sounds perfect for tailgating, man.
Picnics, it's got picnics written all over it. The spare tire actually is a full-size spare and slides out on a tray inside that area. The bed actually has speaker capability, 110 capability, Bluetooth capability. It's amazing how sharp and clever the packaging of this bed is.
The technology is really
It's cutting edge.
quite stunning. I looked through all these things and I could hardly find anything it didn't have.
Right, exactly.
That's the first thing. Second thing is, another thing that we should point out to people. This is a V6 engine. It's
Yes.
a 3.5 liter V6 that you would find in an Accord, in a Pilot, in an Odyssey, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Yep.
Do you know that has the ability to go between 3 and 6 cylinders? It has a variable cylinder.
And that surprised me too.
Variable cylinder management system on it. I'm thinking, wow, you've got a lot of confidence in that V6 to cut it down to 3 when you don't need to use that fuel. Woo.
Yep. Well, you won't be towing at that moment.
No, you will not be towing at that moment.
But I've had the pleasure of driving this thing both off-road, albeit in what would be a soft shell off-road, because I frankly wasn't in the mood to go more brutal. They were prepared to let me go more brutal. I just really wasn't in the mood to do it. I wanted to drive it real world. High speeds on the highway, 85 mile an hour in Texas, in the heat, in the rain. I was stunned at how quiet and how comfortable it was. The interior comes off like an Acura. It's that nice inside. And then, of course, the fact that it will make those kind of speeds and have that level of versatility, and frankly, that it will tow all the way up to 5,000 pounds in the all-wheel drive or the four-wheel drive system. They've got tent accessories for it that make perfect sense. They've got TV accessories for it to make big sense. They have, you can cook for the cockpot in the back of this thing. There is so much going on here. This may be one of the most versatile trucks, if you will. And though I think it's still the small dictionary definition of the new truck, I think this is the definition of the new pickup truck.
Okay, so who's going to buy this now? Obviously, they've got 250,000 people that believed enough in the Generation 1. Those are obviously customers. But over the period of production, they need to just about double their their buyers, assuming those people come back for another one.
Right.
It's been said that there's an awful lot of Honda garages that have pickup trucks in them. So explain
We
that.
know that as share a garage.
Explain that as share a garage. Give us our audience approach to
nearly
share of garage.
every car company out there would love to have complete share of garage, i.e., their pickup truck and their sedan, their pickup truck and their minivan, their pickup truck and their economy car, their pickup truck and their hybrid. They'd like to be the dominant brand in that garage. Of course, garages now have grown to 3-car, and so they want to be all 3-car spaces. You ask me who's going to buy this truck? Nearly every person who takes the time to drive it. That's who's going to buy this truck. You go, you drive this truck, and if you even have a hint of anything in your life that doesn't exceed 5,000 pounds of towing capacity that would make this truck helpful to have in your life, you're buying it.
So that would be the urban consumer.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to run a plumbing company, but
No.
you might be a pool man.
Yes, a pool man for sure.
Wanting this truck.
Absolutely.
You might have something that's a little bit small, or
Housekeep-
maybe a model airplane hobby that you need to
Housekeeping services could run out of it. People who weekend picnic or camp are going to love this thing. I'm telling you, between the accessories, which they've branded, so they've been designed specific to this platform, this truck's got use.
Really, the word I associate with it is utility.
Yes.
It's got so much utility.
Perfect.
It's perfect for somebody who just goes out and does stuff.
Yep.
Because you'll find a way to incorporate that truck in your life.
I'll give Honda this, Jay. They brought in truck magazine editors. They brought in car magazine editors. They actually even brought some lifestyle editors into San Antonio and gave them the full exposure to this vehicle, and the reviews have been raving.
Well, they want to establish themselves as this is the lifestyle truck. Well, that they'll do, simply because their other products fit in so nicely,
Yes.
whether it's a bike, whether it's a quad, or these other...
Oh, and let's just throw
other
this
things.
out there. If you want to take your little boat, Honda Outboard. You want to generate a lot of power? Honda generators.
Yes.
Honda motorcycles for dirtback riding. And they've already built the ramps and the tie downs. It is such a clever truck. Spencer, man.
Well, when it comes to Honda having a shared garage, it's not limited to just cars.
Yes.
No.
It's share of workshop and share of house.
Your comment is very appropriate because
is.
their national campaign is Dream Garage.
Yeah.
If you know, so you're seeing all the different varieties of Honda products, but that's the way the company has always been since day one. It has expanded.
They're total innovators. I
all
just
these
want to let
different
you know, I went into this thing protective of the contemporary pickup truck.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, you're really going to mess with this stuff? I left going, son of a gun, guys. You're redefining the term. Others will follow.
Now, other shows you can hear about the horsepower and the mileage and everything. You can look at that all up on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, we know trucks from inside out, from the bolts out.
Yep.
This is our impressions of the brand new Honda Ridgeline. We thought it was important to get it on the air. I'm looking forward to seeing it in the dealerships.
If
later
this truck
year.
didn't lead, we wouldn't have even talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this truck leads what I think is going to influence design of other full-size trucks.
And I can hear everybody saying, "Oh, it's not a Chevy, it's not a Ford."
And I get that. We get that.
Try driving it.
Drive it. That's all we have to say. Drive it, and you will understand where pickup trucks are headed. Whether you buy the Honda or you understand what's coming, this will help you do it.
Hey, we've got no more time. We've got to
Yep.
say goodbye. Thanks for joining us for the Honda Ridgeline.
That's right. We appreciate it. We wish you open roads and safe motoring.
Thank you for listening to Drivers Talk Radio. Don't miss a show by subscribing to us through YouTube, iTunes, or Stitcher. You can like our page, Drivers Talk Radio, on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter at Drivers Talk Rick for all the latest in automotive news and happenings. See you next week.